Today we're going to cover invoice against contract. I'm going to break this into 5 separate videos to downsize it into more palatable sizes. The first will be an overview. The second will be the options and flexibility of invoice against contract. The third will be the auto invoice and evaluated receipt settlement. Then we'll roll into receiving options, and then the last video will be a demo of the setup and configuration. So jumping right into some of the use cases, it's an important buy channel because this is the buying channel that allows you to schedule automated payments. That's important for all of your reoccurring maintenance schedules. So whether that's a software subscription, something like elevator or facilities maintenance, software subscription maintenance, annual fees associated with tax services, etc., you can handle all of those with no longer needing invoicing, etc. It also removes the labor associated with cutting individual purchase orders for services engagements, where you can set up the services and implementation and hourly rates and things of that directly against the contract. It also eliminates the need to do reverse quantity price purchase orders, which causes a lot of invoice errors and doesn't actually ensure pricing compliance. So on the right-hand side, we have use cases for invoice against contract. That includes things like facilities and plant maintenance, such as elevator maintenance, landscaping services, snow removal services, etc. The one that we've already spoken about, which is the recurring software subscription fees, and staffing agreements where you set up rate cards directly against the contract. Now, why this is important is when we talk about closing the loop, when you negotiate a contract, ultimately you believe you're going to save so much money. But over time, you lose some of that value because people aren't buying off your contract. The processing costs are very high, and then you don't necessarily have the contract compliance piece, and so you lose money based on the exceptions and discounts. And so ultimately, you don't capture all of your negotiated savings without the contract compliance tool. And so the integrated applications and having the contract compliance directly to the contract enables you to capture the complete value of your negotiated savings. So invoice against contract is one of the 7 buy channels that we offer. So just so that everyone's aware, there are multiple buying channels. Each has its use and its purpose, as you can see here. I won't review all of these, but it is important to realize depending on your contract and how the service or good will be consumed, which one of these buy channels you should really be choosing and selecting for use. We'll go into that. I have kind of a cheat sheet chart that we'll jump into a little bit later on for that. So this is actually a kind of quick and easy mechanism to help you guide you through which one of the buy channels you should be using. For instance, if you have a product that has a defined product list with a fixed price over the term of the contract, you could do a direct catalog in the contract term or on the contract compliance invoice against contract setup that we're going to talk through today. If you do have things that are not necessarily fixed, you can do a punch out catalog or SIF. Moving down to services, if you know that you have an upfront volume commitment with scheduled payments, you can do that reoccurring line charge that we spoke about earlier. If you don't, then you can simply set up that catalog for people to requisition off of. Other sections below, again, you'll see a variety of different options to use here. You can use collaborative requisitioning, etc., or potentially sub-agreements. So this slide kind of speaks through the setup of various options here. We won't go through all of them necessarily, but it talks about if you don't necessarily need a release for consumption, you're going to set up a non-release contract, do not turn on receiving, allow invoicing, and that way your suppliers can invoice you directly against the contract without needing somebody to go take additional actions. If you did need to issue a purchase order to the supplier, you're going to still be able to do that where you can tie all that spend back to the contract. You're simply going to allow releases or set it as release required. That will allow requisitioners to requisition the items on that contract, just like a catalog, tie it all back to the contract. If you don't want a requisition, though, if you don't want a purchase order and you do need to receive items, again, that is another option. It's the same thing, non-release contract, but you're going to set receiving to yes. We also have milestones And then automatic payments is the fifth bullet point over there, where we don't consume, consumption is automatic by month. And so again, you're just going to do a reoccurring fee. Potentially with auto invoice, you can set it to auto invoice, or for the supplier to invoice you. Either way. Thank you for the time today.